Scott Russell, let's talk about change that lasts and permanent change. Change that is in a good direction that's changing lives. I was in Lisbon, Portugal at one time living, and there's this gypsy market that we used to go to buy just various things. It was kind of fun, bounce around those tables. And it just, one thing I noticed about Portugal was so much potential. And I went to this gypsy, only this older gypsy lady that was there that we'd got to know by just shopping at her stall, and she had some broken English. And I gave her an entrepreneurial idea. I started to talk to her about doing something that was pretty simple that would have really done well. And she looked at me, and this is the answer that I think is relevant for all of us. She looks at me and she said, "I'm a gypsy, basically. It's all I'll ever be. I've grown up this. We do this. This is how we grow. We get a table, we go to a bigger table, we go to a bigger table of clothes. And when you're at the top of the pile, you've got, 2 tables with clothes on it, but you start out with a few changes of clothes that your parents start you with." She said, I couldn't do that sort of thing. And you know what really hit me is we grow up in a culture and we can't change. Women are hard on the inside, soft on the outside, as I've said. Men are hard on the outside and soft on the inside. But women, ladies, you're wired for security. I mean, we all are, but just in different ways. But I think many times we get places that, well, let me put it this way. Hosea in the Bible, I really like that passage. It has a lot of relevance to some of the details around my life. But we find this lady, that woman that is married to the prophet. She runs off, and she was a prostitute. He married a prostitute, a woman that had been pretty promiscuous. And she decided at some point that, whatever reason doesn't say, she took off and went back to her lovers. And she's gone back to the men that have provided for her in the past, prostituting her soul, really. She's gone back to these men to try to get whatever she's looking for. And as she's gone back, the Bible says, they stripped her bare. And the very soul of the woman, I believe, is talking about, and probably naturally too, they had no respect for the woman. They stripped her bare and threw her aside. And none of her old lovers would have her anymore. And then we find the prophet comes along and he finds her stripped and destitute on the side of the road, basically, and picks her up and loves her. Takes her back out into the wilderness the Bible says he took her out. Well, he saved her, and then it's funny that the passage switches to where it's talking about the prophet, then it becomes from God's perspective, and she gets taken out into the wilderness. And the Bible says loving kindness and compassion was restored to the woman. And I think that is all of us. And I think as men, we can learn a lot from women in that whole way. Women often go to where they're going to be taken care of, the security. And in the past, they've gone to their lovers, they've gone to people they've had affairs or flings with, and they've gone and those doors close, or they're always looking for more, always looking for something greater and looking for that security. And as they go there, ultimately they get stripped bare. And I'm going to go to the spirit of who they are, destitute in their spirit. And maybe you're a lady that's destitute in your spirit today, if you're honest. And you've gone back to your lovers, and you've gone back to where you know you probably shouldn't be, and it's stripping you bare. You're stripped bare. And then God comes along, God's man comes along, and God comes along and he says, okay, are you ready to listen, basically? He's saying, you're ready. Are you ready for change? Because change is not easy. None of us want change, not significant change. We like changes of little things that we can control. But to be stripped bare and destitute, and some of you have been through relationship breakdowns where you've been stripped bare and destitute in your life, it changes you. And I think the emphasis here is that the woman was so destitute, she trusted the man of God. She had nothing else. That the man of God loved her and brought her to God, and God loved her. And I think that's when we start to get real, is when life hands us something we can't control. We think we can control it. I mean, the trouble with some of us is we're like the rest of us. I mean, I know, you get these people that run off to the world, run off sleeping around, run off to alcohol, drugs, partying, whatever. I remember somebody saying once, "Oh, the world's not a bad place." Yeah, because you haven't lived it. The world is designed to rape, plunder, and destroy you, the very soul of who you are. So that ultimately you lay there and you look up to heaven and kind of go, all right, if there is a God, help me. And I think to make, we all like, and maybe that's the difference with entrepreneurs. An entrepreneur has the courage to make change. An entrepreneur is someone that actually can step out and say, well, I'm going to take that risk and be vulnerable. And life is there to make us vulnerable. So this lady in Hosea, this ex-prostitute, she goes out into the wilderness, and the Bible says with that journey of time, loving kindness and compassion is restored. And I think it's getting to a point or a place where you can trust somebody, to come to somebody and say, you know what, I've been used, I've been abused, I've allowed myself to be that, I've put myself there. I need to make change. I will make change. And I'm going to trust you with my life. I'm going to trust you with my heart. I'm going to trust you with my soul. There's going to be some hard things. It's going to be a change of how I'm used to living. But loving kindness and compassion is going to be restored in me. And I'm going to be somebody who feels and loves and cares, and the true intimacy of the heart. And this woman, it's ultimately where God took her as his bride, in a sense. And he just took her and said, you're mine. And the Bible talks about the bride of Christ, that he's returning for a bride without spot or blemish. God's not looking for religious people that do nice religious actions and, I pray this many times and whatever. He's not interested. In Bible, in Matthew, it says, they prophesied in my name. They cast out devils in my name. They performed many signs in my name. And I said, depart from me, you lawless one. And God's saying, it's the heart he's interested in. Where's your heart? Is your heart lawless? Or is it someone that can submit to where true love is and submit to where the Bible talks about it in a Greek word called koinonia? And that's a word that is, it turns up in the Bible after Acts chapter 2. And everywhere where the translators have put words like, intercourse, fellowship, caring, giving, all those words really all are summed up in the Greek word koinonia. And that's the true word for church. And so God's reaching out to, I think, each and every one of us in this time and saying, you can go back to your lovers. So, well, I don't believe in love. I don't believe in God. And I've said that before. I've been betrayed by love. Why should I believe in love? till it runs you over. And you can love someone, you love them from afar. And they're living that life of the Hosea woman, just going to where they've been, looking for answers, but deep inside knowing that there's no answers until they surrender to love. And love's pretty scary because it's 100% vulnerability in saying, I'm going to take my life in vulnerability and lay it at somebody else's feet, God's feet, and say, God, am I worth it? Or are you going to betray me? You're worth it. You're worth it. To the right place, you're worth it. And they would never hurt you. Things may come across difficult and hard, but true love would never hurt you because you're precious. And so God restored those loving kindness and compassion in time with this woman. And then the marriage happened. And I think that's us with life. God is reaching to each and every one of us and saying, everything that's going on, don't go back to where you think you're going to get your answers. Let me touch your heart with loving kindness and compassion. Let it come alive in you again, but you've got to surrender. You've got to trust. It's really that, won't you come? Won't you come? And there's only one that makes that decision of saying, God, I give to you. I give to where love truly is. I don't understand it. I'm scared stupid because my lovers have stripped me bare. But I'm going to trust this one more time. And sometimes you've got no strength. You can just look up and say, just take me, God. Today, how far are you willing to go with your life? Fight the globalists or surrender and let God take you to where you need to be? Not surrendering to the globalists, but to what God has for your life. God bless you.